Hi, my name is Blakely Graham, and I'm a senior at East Tennessee State University. I am majoring in biology with a minor in music, and today I'm going to be discussing the muscles involved in breathing, as well as give you some study tips to help human anatomy be a little bit easier. The principal muscles involved in breathing comprise a group of muscles called the breathing pump muscles. Inspiratory muscles consist of the sternocleidomastoid, the scalenes, the external intercostal muscles, and the diaphragm. The expiratory muscles consist of the internal intercostals, the internal and external oblique, the rectus abdominis, and the transversus abdominis muscles. Muscles that expand the thoracic cavity are inspiratory muscles and induce inhalation, while those that compress the thoracic cavity are expiratory muscles and induce expiration. These muscles work together in concert to expand and compress the thoracic cavity. One of the major muscles involved in inspiration is the diaphragm. The diaphragm is a dome-shaped muscle that separates the thoracic and abdominal cavities. When the diaphragm contracts, it moves inferiorly into the abdominal cavity, which increases the thoracic cavity volume. Diaphragm contraction also induces the lower ribs to move superiorly and anteriorly, which also increases the thoracic volume. The diaphragm originates on the xiphoid process of the sternum, the ends of ribs 11 and 12, vertebrae L1, L2, and L3, the costal wall, and the abdominal wall fascia, all to insert along the central tendon. Its main action is to pull the pleural cavity inferiorly. It is innervated by the phrenic nerve, and it receives its blood supply from the phrenic artery and musculophrenic artery. With each muscle introduced in human anatomy, you must know the origin, insertion, action, innervation, and blood supply. What I found most helpful was to get a whiteboard similar to this, as well as some expo markers. I repetitively wrote out each origin, insertion, action, innervation, and this was very helpful to me. Some people in my human anatomy class use flashcards. However, I feel like the dry erase board makes studying more active and makes you really solidify the information. Another set of muscles involved in inspiration is the external intercostal muscles. These muscles originate at the inferior margin of the rib above and insert along the superior margin of the rib below. Its main action is to move the ribs superiorly, and it is innervated by the intercostal nerves, and its blood supply comes from the intercostal arteries. There are two neck muscles involved in inspiration. These include the sternocleidomastoid and the scalene. The main action of these muscles is to lift the top of the chest. The scalene muscles, however, are also involved in flexion of the neck. Two important muscles involved in expiration include the external and internal oblique. The external oblique originates along the lower 8 ribs. It inserts on the iliac crest and linea alba. Its actions include compressing the trunk, flexing the trunk, bending the trunk to the same side, and turning the anterior abdomen to opposite sides. It is innervated by T7 through T12 rami, and its blood supply comes from the musculophrenic artery, the lumbar artery, and the superior and inferior epigastric artery. The internal oblique originates along the iliac crest and the inguinal ligament, and it inserts along the lower 3 ribs, linea alba, and pubic crest. Its actions include compressing the abdomen, flexing the trunk, and each muscle bends the trunk and turns the trunk to the same side. It is innervated by T7 through T12 rami, along with L1 rami. Its blood supply also comes from the musculophrenic artery, the lumbar artery, and the superior and inferior epigastric artery. Two other muscles involved in expiration include the rectus abdominis muscle and the transversus abdominis muscle. The rectus abdominis muscles is what you think of when you think of your six-pack. It originates along the pubic crest, pubic tubercle, and pubic symphysis. It inserts along the costal cartilage of ribs 5 through 7 and along the xiphoid process. Its action includes compressing the abdomen, flexing the vertebral column, and tensing the abdomen. It is innervated by rama T7 through T12, and its blood supply is the inferior and superior epigastric artery. The transversus abdominis originates along the thoracolumbar fascia, the iliac crest, the inguinal ligament, and the costal cartilage of lower ribs 7 through 12. Its insertion occurs along the linea alba and the pubic crest, and it compresses the abdomen. It is innervated by T7 through T12 and L1 rami, and its blood supply comes from the musculophrenic artery, the superior epigastric artery, and the lumbar artery. I also found it very helpful to look up videos that show how the muscles are attached to the skeleton and how they are working together. This video in particular shows them all working together and shows the diaphragm actually distending into the abdominal cavity, and I thought that was really helpful to just get a more realistic representation of how they are working together.